Let's face it, so many people are unprepared for what's coming. 2022 will be a shock for so many. And why? Because they didn't take the time to understand what was happening. But you're watching this video, and I know that you have already begun the preparations. Maybe you've been doing it for years, maybe months, or maybe it's just a few days, but you've taken the step. The first thing I want to talk about is the energy high, what's been happening right now. We have watched energy prices rising in Europe in particular. We will cover that. The second thing I want to look at is the China impact, what's going on there. I did the video before this one, which I will link to at the end of this video. Really key stuff, got some further information. The third thing is the asset reaction. What's happening with Bitcoin? What's happening with stocks? I've got all of that and more. Let's begin. All right, here we go. British energy bills to remain high until 2023, according to the suppliers. This is a big issue, of course, because most people are just barely affording their lives, their energy, their food. Forget about the latest iPhone and the newest doodad, the fancy, flashy things. No, we're talking about basic essentials. Some people spend too much money. Some people spend more than they make, and that's a different story. But for a large group of people, they simply can't make ends meet, okay? This is going on, and actually it got much worse after the financial crisis. British household energy bills are likely to remain high until 2023. Electricity and gas suppliers have warned as they plead with ministers to provide relief to consumers and companies struggling with a cash flow crunch in the face of elevated prices. They want government intervention. What's going to happen here? The government's going to step in and say, oh, okay, you can only charge this much, or are they going to simply give cash to the consumers, to the individuals? Either way, I believe long-term, it isn't a good solution. What's been happening here? You got the supply chain issues. You're talking about what's happening, all along the line. And of course, the average person just ends up paying more. That's really the long and short of it. Consumers will feel the pain of unprecedented surges in wholesale prices for at least another 18 months, unless the government takes action. You have seen this before, but we will look at what's going on, like in China, for instance, where the government basically said coal prices are going off the charts. This is all you can do. And then what happened? Natural gas went up, because you can't simply play this whack-a-mole game and have it be successful long term. That's all I'm trying to make the point of, okay? European gas prices surge above 100 euros with eyes on Russia. Dutch month ahead extends advance in early trade. Russian flows to Europe remain below last year's level. This is why I talked about the flotilla of LNG coming the way of Europe. So we actually had even LNG tankers that were supposed to be bound for China make a U-turn and go to Europe, because they're going to make a lot more money doing that, even though they were already halfway there. Europe's benchmark natural gas price rose over 100 euros, or the $190 per barrel of oil equivalent. This is massive. This is expensive, okay? And people have been telling me all over Europe what they've been paying for one type of energy or another, and it is incredible, to say the least. More expensive, gas prices rise as colder weather further tightens the market. So not only do we have the seasonality, look, it's wintertime, and certainly you're going to have more heating being required, but we also have less stockpiles, okay? So the stockpiles are being depleted and more is being utilized. At the same time, it's much more expensive. So I've been noticing people in the comment section. I want to hear from you. Oh, I've been preparing for this long. Oh, I got a fixed contract with my energy supplier. Or I've been collecting firewood. I've been chopping wood and this and that. What are you doing? Let's make suggestions. Put them down below. WTI crude is over $76 a barrel. Brent crude $79 a barrel. Oil has continued to rise up, and it is getting close to where it was just a little while ago at that peak. Then we have this, fertilizer prices and food prices. It's going off the charts. You can't have the fertilizer going up and it not affecting food. Of course, that green line there, that's the fertilizer prices for North America. It's incredible, to say the least. What are people going to do? Number one, grow your own food. Oh, you live in a cold environment, so hands off? No. Check out a channel called 1 Yard Revolution. Check out my playlist, either how to make money or how to end solutions. All of this, very useful information. Look, the food prices are rising and it's going to affect you directly. Big problem. And connected with that is this. They're talking about urea. Now, urea is essentially a component that is used in so many different applications, whether we like it or not. And you're just seeing right here how they talk about China, and that's how I'm going to get into this aspect of the video. China, Australia's biggest trading partner, they're blaming China for the crisis without specifically citing their export ban on refined urea, because Australia and China right now, they're not on good terms, let's say. Global supply pressures stemming from increased domestic use in China have led to international issues in securing refined urea, which is a key product for this particular product here. And of course, they just go on to talk about how there's this back and forth that's affecting urea. And then if China is expanding on what they're importing, that's going to have an impact on the rest of the world. If they're buying everybody's soybeans, well, then suddenly there's less for everybody else. Stockpiles are dwindling and so on. Okay, so I talked about this in the previous video. Like I said, I'll link to it at the end of this one. It's rocketing higher, and for good reason, because it's so important, that video. Because what's happening here is that you are watching countries and individuals simply unprepared. China's doing something, we need to be paying close attention. Speaking of China, I have talked about this many times before, and I have seen you in the comments talking about it as well. Uganda finds China's leverage is in the fine print of its lending. A clause in an agreement with the African nation has stirred a flap over whether the country signed away financial control of Entebbe International Airport. Whoa, now that's big. Because what we have seen here with the Belt and Road Initiative, for many people, has been that China's desire is to get their hands on basically everything, as much of the infrastructure as possible, so that they can bring in the products, so that they can kind of take over, in a sense, do it different, so that they don't have to fire a shot. This is what many people are saying, and I want to know what you think. Tell me in the comments section below. Let's have this conversation. Is China, in fact, going after the assets and the infrastructure? Or is this just the name of the game? Is this just business? Let me know. Then you have this. Dollar's best days look numbered amid rush to front run the Fed. Greenback gains set to slow in 2022 with rate hikes priced in. I do believe that there will be an increase in interest rates in 2022. Do you agree with me? If so, hit that thumbs up button. Let me know. If you don't agree with me, hit that thumbs down. Let's talk about it. Morgan Stanley and JPM, our favorite JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs, don't leave them out, still expect a rise against the euro and the yen. So we don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. Morgan Stanley and JPM can say whatever they want. I should probably show you the article. Looking at this, you could see that there's this expectation. What's going to happen? What is, the dollar going to do? I could tell you what's going to happen, not against other currencies, but I could tell you what's going to happen against real goods. And that is an absolute devaluation. Real interest rates. Because why? Real interest rates declining because we have seen time and time again what happens when you devalue the currency, when you pump up all this money, when you bring interest rates down to the rock bottom. Certainly you have this. And when you look at these times, which we have record low real interest rates, and you can't get growth, you've got a problem. I have noted many times before on this channel that you can't get good growth without having higher interest rates. Seems counterintuitive, but that's what we have seen. Doesn't mean you got to have interest rates at 20%, but you got to have something. Rock bottom only helps those on the inside. Because, the average individual, they don't borrow at 0% or close to it. I noticed a lot of people, and there's this new thing being passed around over the past maybe 6 months, oh, I'm going to have this asset and then borrow against it. And certainly you can borrow against your stocks. You can borrow against your crypto. But you don't get the same rate that Jeff Bezos does. Jeff Bezos was getting something like 0.69% on his stock. Now, if you're able to borrow at 0.69% to the tune of millions of dollars for a long term, maybe that's a good thing to do. But when you're borrowing at 17% on your credit card, you got to pay that off. Okay, so there's a big difference. There's a huge difference, in fact. Bitcoin's seesaw nature is showcased yet again in choppy trading. So this is just talking about Bitcoin, what's been happening, the expectation here over the next little while. Some are saying, oh, it's going to go to 100,000. Others say, no, that was the end of that. We'll see. The stock to flow model shows that we are kind of at the bottom of where we should be, and it could go much higher. You look at this on different levels. There has been always the ups and downs. This happens to be the SPY, or the S&P 500. And you can see that it has done quite well over the last little while. But after touching the top Bollinger Band, after surging quite a bit, things have been stretched a little bit. Okay, at least there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trading days in a row where the prices had gone to new highs. And you watch this at a time in which, the market is really iffy, to say the least. So we don't know what's going to happen, but we do have the seasonality in that the Santa Claus rally, as well as January, tending to be very good. So we'll see. That will help out individuals, their 401ks, their portfolios, maybe interest rates if they stay low, which in the United States, for the time being, they should. Then people's home equity line of credit and so on could stay afloat. Well, that will help them temporarily. You've got this. Illinois breaks record for population loss, out-migration in 2021. If you live in Illinois, let me know what you see around you, okay? I've just been covering this, and it continues to be a trend. That's all I'm trying to show you here, as well as this. I always like to show you the trends, not just of the population moving to and from, but robotics and automation. It continues. Autonomous trucker, Too Simple, logs its first no human road test. They're doing this in limited, functionality that it has at this time, but they're going for it. 80-mile route, 80 miles. So it's not around in a little circle, but it is limited in where it's going to and from and so on. I just think that it is simply a matter of time before they replace a lot of jobs. You could say it's not safe, it's not simple, it won't be as good as a human and so on. I think they're just going to go for it regardless. If you do agree with me, hit that thumbs up button. At the same time, when you hit that thumbs up button right down below, it helps to support the channel, okay? Are you subscribed yet? I know a lot of people, I hear from them every day, that think they're subscribed. They click subscribe before, but they've been unsubscribed. So make sure you check that and click the little bell. And then when you click that bell, it says notify me every time, okay? Because this is the key intel. And of course, there's so much more that I'm going to be covering. If you haven't seen this video yet, this is the one I was talking about. So just click it, all right? Because I will see you over there.